The slap cracked through the air like thunder against stone. For a heartbeat, the whole world stopped. Even the birds above seemed to freeze mid-flight. A paper cup tumbled from an old man's trembling hand, spilling the last of his lukewarm coffee across the gray pavement. The officer stood over him, chest heaving, his gloved hand still half raised, as if even he couldn't believe what he'd just done. But the moment didn't stay frozen for long. From the end of the street came the low growl of engines, 5 motorcycles turning the corner like rolling thunder. Their leader, a broad-shouldered man with a salt and pepper beard, slowed when he saw what was happening. His name was Reed Callahan, and he was not the kind of man who looked away from injustice. He wore a leather vest marked with the name Hell's Angels, but his heart carried something deeper than rebellion. It carried purpose. If you still believe that strength is meant to protect the weak, and that kindness has a place even in the hardest of hearts, then you're watching the right story. This is Pure Hub Kindness. Reed's heavy boots echoed across the concrete as he walked forward, his brothers following close behind Clay, the silent one with the tattoos climbing up his neck, Walker, the giant with a faded vest and a steady stare, and the twins, Kurt and Mason, both ex-Marines, who had traded uniforms for Chrome and Brotherhood. The officer's badge read M. Reynolds. He straightened his posture, trying to hide the tremor in his voice. "Move along, fellas," he said, but the command fell flat. Reed didn't move along. He stopped right beside the old man Frank, as his torn name tag read. Without a word, Reed knelt, slipped off his gloves, and used a folded handkerchief to gently wipe the blood and dirt from Frank's face. The street went silent again. Then Reed pulled a crumpled $20 bill from his vest and tucked it into Frank's coat pocket. When he finally looked up, his eyes met the officer's, calm, gray, and full of quiet disappointment. "That badge," Reed said softly, "was meant to protect, not to break." The words hit harder than any punch. One of the other engines revved behind him, the sound cutting through the tension, not as a threat, but as a warning that justice had arrived. A murmur spread among the officers by the station doors. "Wait, isn't that the vet biker from the charity rides?" Someone whispered, and in that instant, everything changed. These weren't outlaws. They were veterans, community riders, men who'd seen war and chosen peace. Reed stood, towering over Reynolds. "You ever been hungry?" he asked quietly. "Ever slept in the rain? Ever felt invisible while people walked by like you didn't exist?" The officer said nothing. Reed took one step closer. "That man has, and no badge gives you the right to forget his humanity." Frank tried to stand, but stumbled. Walker caught him gently, steadying him. "Thank you," Frank whispered, voice cracking. Reed just nodded. From the station doorway, an older officer appeared. "What's going on here?" Reed turned slightly. "One of yours forgot what it means to serve," he said. "Maybe remind him." The older man's shoulders sagged. He understood. Slowly, the other officers stepped back. The only sound left was the hum of engines and the whisper of regret. Reed turned to leave. Before mounting his Harley, he looked back over his shoulder. "We all make choices, officer," he said. "Make your next one count." Then 5 engines roared to life and rolled out their sound, fading into the horizon like thunder after a storm. By nightfall, the security footage had spread online. A cop slapping a homeless man, and 5 bikers stepping in. But what captured the world wasn't the slap, it was the kindness. A tattooed biker kneeling to clean a stranger's wounds. A moment of compassion powerful enough to make millions stop and think. Donations poured in for Frank. The department apologized. And for once, people didn't talk about outrage, they talked about empathy. Because real strength doesn't come from a badge, or a uniform, or a title. It comes from the courage to care when no one else does. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Pure Hub Kindness, where every story reminds the world that kindness isn't weakness. It's power in its purest form.